Hi, team. Welcome to the Escape Podcast for Star Wars The Old Republic. Coming up, we talk about Ben Irving's open letter to the community, and also a little bit of fun stuff like weapon tunings. But first, a couple bits of news and a shout out to our guild Alea Iacta Est on Jedi Covenant. Our broadcast astromech today is EPC 140. There he is. So, 140, I thought up a new name for the planet Hoth. How about Cold? Wouldn't that be more appropriate? Am I
No,
right? Am
no,
I
it would
right?
not.
No, that's terrible. I apologize. With me, as always, is Seema. Hi, Seema. How's it going?
Oh, it's going pretty well. Although I did have a little bit of a SWTOR light this week. I did my normal ops nights, which for me normal is our um, LOL team on Thursday night and MFN on Tuesday, but I didn't get in on. I think I did run with Soldiers of Light last Monday, but not tonight, and I didn't make it to the Friday ops. Wish I could have, but it just didn't work out. Real life and all that stuff. Um, I do have my trooper though to level 64. I almost don't want to get her to 65 because then, since I made a big deal about her being a DPS spec, you know, people are threatening me with having to actually DPS. I don't know about that. My sage, then my little sage that I was leveling up, she's 29. Oh, and I had a thing this week that I didn't even know was a thing, but it was delicious. It was a BLT pizza.
Hmm.
And it's this pizza. They make the pizza with the bacon on it, and then after it comes out of the oven, then they put like lettuce and tomato and on it. It was good.
Hmm.
I I may never get another kind of pizza.
Making pizza, making bacon pizza.
Yes.
Take some bacon and you put it in a pizza.
Oh my gosh,
All
thank
right.
you very much for that. Now I have that in my head. But actually, for things to have in your head, the bacon pancake song is not my least favorite.
Right. Yeah, I
I
don't
kind
mind
I
that.
kind of like it actually.
Yeah. I have
So
the 10
anyway, that
hour
was kind
version loop, off of YouTube looping in my house at all times.
of yes.
Who wouldn't?
There's definitely worse. I'll have to think of some. But anyway, yeah. So, how has your week been?
My week has been good. I am back into some crafting because I finished getting my mercenary slicing up to 500, trying to do only the lockbox missions along the way, and it is more difficult than it used to be. But with a minimum of having to do a couple rounds of tech parts missions up the chain, I was able to do mostly lockbox missions. And then once I hit the the tier 9, I started getting the tech parts obviously again, and now I have a stack of those, so time to make some augments. So doing a bunch of that. I finished that book I was talking about, City of Blades. It's a very good book. We'll talk, little bit of book talk. So All the Birds in the Sky, good book. City of Blades, good book. And I'm not started yet, but I'm moving on to a book called A Darker Shade of Magic.
Hmm.
It's not 50 Shades of Dark Magic. 50 Shades, 50 Shades
Of gray magic.
of Gray Magic. But that's
50
what.
Shades of the Gray.
No, that's what I've been doing. But there is a little bit of news.
Now, an Imperial News Network report.
Don't exploit, okay? Exploiting is bad,
Okay.
okay? So I saw this germinating last week. I didn't want to talk about it in the podcast until we knew for sure exactly what was going on. But there was rumors of a credit dupe, a credit thing going on in the wild, way to duplicate credits, to ready to create credits and launder a bunch of credits. A bunch of weird things were happening with the GTN. People were noticing it from that perspective. Yes, don't exploit. This was a relatively technical exploit that you needed to do some dramatic things. It sounds like, I don't know all the details, but a lot of credits did get created, and then they started to get passed around. If you noticed weird stuff, or if a bunch of credits got mailed to you, don't touch them. Just leave them. Send a note to BioWare. There's notes in the dev tracker on what to do about it. And don't fear. They'll work it out. They'll unroll the stacks and figure out exactly what's going on. But if you do get swept along in a ban, that's going to suck for a little bit, but they'll get it straightened out too. Don't exploit.
Words to live by.
Yes.
Also, we had an announcement on the forums from Tate about introducing weapon tunings, and there's a developer blog about it. But essentially, a weapon tuning is a way of giving a flare to a weapon. So it's sort of similar to flares on vehicles, but it's more like when you have the sort of little minor animations that go on armor, because you can't control it. You can't like pulse it or anything like that. It's going on all the time. And I think it's really a cool thing because it allows your weapon, in my opinion anyway, it allows your weapon to take more advantage of the color that's added by your crystal.
Mm-hmm.
So like if you're not a force user and you don't have a lightsaber, it makes your crystal more obvious. I mean, it's really obvious for like some attacks from a rifle or a pistol, but yeah, I like this little flare idea. After the announcement, there were a number of questions about it, like, will it be purely cosmetic? And the answer to that is yes, it's purely cosmetic. It doesn't affect stats to the weapon in any way, which makes sense. We'll be able to modify existing weapons, or will just be new weapons going forward. But they say that a lot of the existing weapons will be able to will have a weapon tuning slot when this goes live. So I don't know what that means, that they couldn't do them all, or they didn't want to do them all, or they're going to do them in waves. But they certainly gave the impression that it isn't going to be just new weapons. So hopefully your favorite weapon that you farmed for or spent tons of credits for or just fell in love with for whatever reason will have a weapon tuning slot. Weapon tunings, at least for now, they're exclusive to the cartel market. Well, and probably they say they may be available from other sources, but right now it's just from the cartel market. The color of them is affected by the color crystals, which makes sense.
Which is cool.
And it'll stack with other weapon effects. So I guess you can try out a weapon tuning and see, does it look good with the effect that your weapon already has, or do they seem to fight or whatever, and then you can take it back out again, because it's going to work just like an armoring, or just like a crystal really, that you can take it out. There'll be a cost to take it out, but then you can use it again in another weapon if you wanted to.
Right.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, I think these
seems like a pretty cool thing.
Yeah, I'm excited about them. It is, as you said, a little extra piece of flair, and we're all trying to go for those 14 pieces of flair, as we would need. So yes, I think it's pretty cool. The first one, the only one that they showed off so far, is that little lightning effect, and the lightning effect. You're right. It's a way to add a little bit extra, especially of the color, to non-force users' weapons. That's always been a little bit of an issue. I do certainly like the lightning. It's pretty cool, but I want flames. So I'm waiting for the flames.
I totally can see this being the possible sort of beginning of a thing where there'll be different types, there'll be different rarities, there'll be different costs, and hopefully the cost won't be prohibitive, because like FCON had mentioned in the chat room, that with them not being in collections, which they aren't, at least to start with anyway, aren't going to be in collections, it's going to be expensive for dual wielders. So I don't know, some crystals are cheap, so maybe some weapon tunings will be cheap.
Yeah, maybe. So maybe it'll be a common item. There'll be a common version in a pack, and then there'll be a rare version, and we'll have to see. I do think it's weird that they're not in collections, especially since they're coming out of the cartel packs. And you'll just be able to take it and put it in a legacy weapon and pass it around anyway. So I'm not exactly... I know they're trying to put it in the class of barrels and mods. I don't know exactly why, especially for the cartel versions of them. But
I
start that
I
direction. See
I
what they want.
totally see the point though, is that they should be more like crystals.
But crystals aren't collections. Any crystal that comes out of a cartel pack.
They are in collections, yeah.
Oh, that's what you're saying. Yes, I agree.
Yeah, it should be, well,
I thought
yeah,
you're saying
that's what I'm saying.
you
It should
see
be, yeah.
BioWare's point, and that's
Oh
impossible. No
no,
one ever sees BioWare's point in any of the.
I'm sorry, no, I don't mistake. I didn't see Bioware's point. No, I, yeah, I think, yes, I kind of see, yeah. No, I see why if they were, they're like crystals, so I feel like they should be. And also, I also feel like, and here's my irresponsible speculation coming out, that it paves the way for a similar kind of slot in armor, so that some armor does have an animation, but what if you could put this animation you love on this other armor and make different effects? That would be a cool way to customize too.
Yes, it would. So yes, more. And when is the first pack that they're coming in?
Oh,
They said
when is the
it's
first
coming
pack?
up. They did say in the dev tracker it's an upcoming cartel pack will be the first one that they
The
will introduce.
the Plunderer pack, which launches alongside Chapter 13, Profit and Plunder. So that should
Chapter
be
what?
coming up
I
here
don't
soon,
understand
first
what
week of
you said.
May.
I've never heard of that chapter. Oh, you mean XIII?
X I
Yes,
I I I.
yes, chapter XIII. So yes, I'm looking forward to them. Can't wait. Also in Les News, there was a comment about the Odessan war zone, and yes, it is popping up more often than one might expect. In the very first few days, it was the only thing that was popping up by design. Since then, there are more that it is popping up more often than you might expect, but that's because of the way it works. You can have mixed teams on both sides of both Imperial and Republic characters, which makes it easier, especially on low population servers with not as many people in the queue, to get this one to happen over other ones. Because what you can have is you can have 12 Imperial on one side and 4 Republic on another side, and bang, you've got enough for an Odessan war zone, even though you don't have enough for any other war zone.
Right.
So that
Right.
kind of thing can happen and make it pop up more often than not. Well, I think a solution to that might be to allow those mixed teams in some of the other war zones. They could think about that, but for now, that's just an effect of how that is set up team wise, and probably means that you're getting Warzone queues popping more often than you would have. So that's a good side
Right.
effect.
I mean, if this was part of their plan for making war zones pop better, well, I guess it's working.
Yes, if that is what's going on, and people aren't stopping PvP because they were playing Odessan too often, which I heard one person say.
Well,
So
yes, absolutely. But I'm just saying at one
yeah.
step along the way.
Mm-hmm.
Also, character transfer costs, by the time you hear this, will have gone up to 1,000 cartel coins. It was temporarily set down to 90 cartel coins for whatever reason, down from the original cost of 1,800 cartel coins. So it's still quite a bit under what it was originally. But yes, no more 90 cartel coin character transfers. I kind of got used to that. I'm sorry they're changing it back in a way.
Right. I'm sorry they're changing it back in a way too. I don't know why they're bothering to change it back. If that's a little bit extra revenue that they see that they that they wanted to go back and recover, or if they wanted to slow down the rate of transferring for other reasons. I don't know.
They did say they're looking into regional transfers, so that's a thing.
So there's that, right? Because we've got like the European region and the U.S. region. Is there another region beyond that?
I don't
Is it
think
just 2
so.
regions? You can't transfer characters between them, which is difficulty for people that do want to play. And those kinds of region differences don't make that much of a difference anymore in today's world of fast as light communication, non-Bothan murdering transfer of information. So I played when I was in Spain. I logged on to SWTOR and it worked. A little bit more lag than I would have wanted, but I know we play with people in Australia all the time and people in the UK.
Yeah.
In guild and community news, boy, we have had quite a few invites in our AIE guild. We're up to, last I checked right before the podcast, it was 534 people on the Imperial side. And so I'm glad that cap, that cap got
Yeah.
raised. And almost 500 on the Republic side as well. Now, we haven't been deleting unplayed alts on the Republic side. So there's probably 2/3 of in terms of active characters on the Republic side than what we have on our Imperial side, and that's mostly just an effect of where the ops teams have sort of gelled and where people are spending their time. But we are continuing to bounce back and forth for Mandatory Fun Night. We did Mandatory Fun Night on Tuesday on the Republic side, and we're going to go back to Imperial side this week. We're going to try to go back and forth between them a little more often. And then also in terms of things that we're doing on both the Republic and Imperial is a little bit of GSF. We didn't do it this past weekend, but Sten is spacing them out periodically so people can sort of plan ahead. May 7th will be the next one that he's looking to get set up. If people want to get in there, feel free to plan on it, come and jump in with no experience at all if you just wanted to try it out. We'll pull people aside. We'll go into a Mumble channel. We'll get you into the tutorial maybe and let you play around in there while we talk over and sort of explain what you're looking at and what you're seeing and how things work. And then we can all go fly some GSF.
Cool. As far as our ops team, I think on Friday night they could still use a healer for their regular team. And in terms of our all our other teams they have full rosters now, but always looking for alts on the night of, so it's worth checking it out. That's Monday night on the pub side, Wednesday and Thursday on the imp side, and Friday night on the imp side. And then of course Tuesday night is our open ops night, which we fondly call MFN, Mandatory Fun Night. So attendance is not mandatory, but the fun is. So if you don't have an ops team and you'd like to play with us, come and show up on a Tuesday night at 9 o'clock Eastern.
Excellent. And I think we see in the chat room one of our officers and operations leaders for the Wednesday night team says they need 2 subs for this week in their Wednesday night ops team. So check that out. Watch the thread, talk to Arvashet, and you could run with them on the imp side on Wednesday night at some time, 7:30 or 8 Central is what it would be. And what if someone's not in AIE, Seema? Is there anything that can be done about that?
To everyone who is not yet in AIE, our guild is always looking for new members on Jedi Covenant. Our parent community, Alea Iacta Est, is a very large, family-friendly multi-game group. We have a solid guild in SWTOR on both the Republic and Imperial sides. If you want to know more about our guild and our philosophy, you can check us out at aie-guild.org. And if you would like to join us on Jedi Covenant, please catch any officer in-game by typing /cjoin AIE/cjoin and then just say hi.
Yep. Yeah, we can't always see when people join that kind of channel. It doesn't show. No, it does show when people join. But if we join after, there's no way for us to list who was sort of waiting around in there.
That's right.
So say hi. That's the problem.
And the evenings are by far the best time, especially on those ops night that I mentioned. Monday on the pub side, and then Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Wow, we are kind of one-sided on the imp side for sure.
Yep. And that would be awesome. And now... that sound means it's time for a little bit of the good, the bad, and the ugly. Which there is a little bit of all of that. Ben Irving, the lead producer, the head boss producer for Star Wars The Old Republic, posted an open letter to the community this past week and said a whole bunch of things. Things were said, and those things were said in a letter.
Some things, yeah.
So we're going to talk about that, and we're going to talk about the reactions, and we're going to talk about everything sort of where it's coming from. Let me kick it off. I've highlighted a few things out of the letter. I think it was overall. Let me kick it off by saying I think it was fine. I appreciate any time developers or the producers or the leads in the company come out and just try to communicate at all. So I'm happy that communication happened. I would love to open the door then to make more communication happen. And here's something I was thinking of as I read through the forum responses and the Reddit responses. There's a lot of angst and some negativity and some just asking for more. And there's not a lot of substance in the letter, and we'll go through that. But a lot of it boils down to, we want more. You're not telling us enough. And it reminds me of when you call that uncle you never call, or when you call your mom because you never call your mom, and they pick up the phone and they say, you never call. Why don't you call more? And you start trying to say, I'm calling right now. I'm calling. Why don't you call and tell me what's going on? I'm telling you right now. I'm telling you what's going on. I'm calling you right now. Well, we're going to talk about how you never call for the next half hour. I feel a little bit like that's a little bit what's going on in the forums and Reddit right now.
That's funny that you say that, because I thought the analogy that came in my mind was almost similar, but you have these devoted fans that are saying, I like it, can I have more, sort of like, your devoted beloved dog who would do anything for you, but whatever you do for the dog, it wants more. If you pet it, it wants more petting. If you feed it, it wants more feeding. It's like a bottomless pit of devotion.
Close, but the dog would also have to be biting you the whole time.
And threatening to go live with the neighbors.
Yes. You gave me food. I'm going to bite you because that will let you know that I want more food. So yeah. So I get that we want more, and I agree. And we'll talk about where the gaps are in sort of the messaging that's going out. But let's be careful not to be, that uncle that will now spend the rest of the half-hour phone conversation talking about why this conversation didn't happen sooner. Okay. So I was surprised he said, hey, this is my first ever post. And it's interesting to get him out there and talking at all. I'm happy that that's going on. It is interesting though that this is the first post, and I'm not getting completely why they felt like he needed to step up, or why he felt he needed to step up and make this post. The speculation is that there was enough negative sentiment, or there were rumors going around that SWTOR wasn't being as supported as much as it should be, that the recent unexpected bugs that they talk about were evidence of them not paying enough attention to the game. And I didn't see a preponderance of rumors that Star Wars is dying, or that EA is not supporting it, or that the developer and team isn't doing anything, or isn't looking to the future.
The same number of those posts.
Yeah, no more than ever before. In fact, much less than other times in the past. However, something spurred him wanting to do this. So that's interesting in and of itself. I did notice he's certainly, if you look at the dev tracker, he has a second post, just a funny post about how good SWTOR looks, or someone else was posting how good SWTOR looks on a 4K monitor, and he replied in that thread also later. So he's obviously reading the forums now, and just, saw this other thing, and he figured he would reply to that while I was thinking about it. I haven't seen him reply to anything else yet, but just that in and of itself, I think, is evidence that he's probably reading the forum responses that everyone is writing, at least to some degree, because there's like 40 pages of it now. So I don't know if he read every single one. I don't know if I did not read every single one, but he probably is. So he's hearing all of the feedback to the letter. And again, it's probably a little tough to go through because there are some positive comments interspersed, but not a lot. But I can't see how they could have expected that there would have been a ton of positive comments that would come after a letter like this, because there's not really much. I don't think it's negative. It's either you think it's negative because it didn't say enough, or you think it's neutral because you were happy with the game and they're saying, yes, more stuff is coming, and I'm not going to tell you what that is, but yes, you are justified in being happy with the game, so you just nod your head. So that's where I sort of feel it starts from. What are your thoughts, Seema?
Well, I mean, he starts out sort of from a deficit yes, when I first saw it, I thought, oh, this is going to be good because my reaction to Ben Irving on the live streams is he seems a little bit no nonsense in comparison to Eric Musco and other, Macas that everything is fantastic and wonderful, and he seems more down to earth. But he starts out by saying, we tried to read everything on the internet, the forums, Reddit, Facebook, YouTube, and already I'm kind of, I don't know about that because the evidence they don't show evidence of doing that. Also, you can't do that. Just that one thread alone, I couldn't read the whole thing.
I noticed
And
conspicuous by their absence is podcasts. They don't.
Yeah, they didn't mention podcasts, right?
They didn't mention podcasts.
So I guess my feeling is, I think it's well named as an open letter because it's not a roadmap. It's not a communication of information. It is basically Ben Irving saying, I'm sorry that we have introduced all these problems and we're trying to fix them and hopefully it's going to be better in the future. And then all the rest of it is fluff to me.
Yep. Yeah.
And so if he would have made it a brief letter of apology, I'm okay with the title open letter because an open letter, he's just saying, okay, here's something that I want to get off my chest. That to me is an okay way to spin the title, to use up the title, to use the title of an open letter. But he lost me a little bit when he started with the, look how great the 9 incredible story chapters are, 14 companion recruitment missions. We did this with all the flashpoints. We did this all the, yes, we know all that.
Yes.
Don't waste a paragraph on that.
Right. And
for your first post.
Right. Exactly. Especially since a lot of just people will pick that apart and debate it, which they certainly did in the forums and on Reddit. And a lot of that is valid as well. Don't forget, we gave you old hard modes that we made them so you could run them again because you didn't run them enough in the past. Aren't you jazzed about that? Some people are, a lot of people aren't, or were at the start. So, people will pick it apart. But it's not bad to get reminded, although they reminded us in the producers' live streams as well. It's not bad to get reminded of all the stuff that is going on. There is, if you look at the kinds of work that has been going on, even if it's not the exact work you would have wanted, the amount of work that is going on does show that development is continuing. They are putting effort in, they are expending hours. It's certainly not being supported. Not. But yeah, so he opens with the apology of the unexpected bugs, and it has been a little bit buggy. I do get, and he started to get into it a little bit, and so somewhat blamed it on the monthly release chapter. The monthly release chapter schedule is new, and it's come with some unexpected bugs. I do get that a little bit, and it made me think, moving from, longer release cycle, bigger chunk test, process of development to this new process of continuous release. That is a difficult transition, and you can
And
think,
it is I can see that. It's a different animal.
yeah, yeah, for any development team of any kind of software, it's just a transition. And anytime you shake the tower of Jello, it's gonna jiggle. So, that's what software code is. And trying to eventually, this has the potential to make it only better. Any type of rapid release cycle, if they have a really good DevOps procedure and they're doing the right kind of testing and they're taking advantage of things like the PTS in that process and not neglecting that, it has the potential to keep it more solid and stable over time. But that initial transition, for the first few releases especially, is going to be a challenge. So yeah, okay, I get that. He does also point out, which I thought was interesting. He just sort of drops in there, don't forget, we got chapter XII. XII came out, and XIII is coming out, and they're high quality chapters, which I believe they are. Again, people will debate, but the debates are on both sides. Anyone who's making comments is saying, I've seen comments of, there's too much stuff to fight, and other things will be, there's not enough stuff to fight, and it's too easy, it's too hard, there's points on both sides, but it's relatively high quality story content, and it's released on time. These monthly chapters are coming out on schedule now. Things like Eternal Championship got delayed, and some of the recruitment missions got delayed, but the chapter content coming out on a schedule like this and not getting delayed, that's hard to do. So good on them for that. Any comments there, Seema, before I continue? I want to keep ranting
I mean,
nonstop.
yeah, yes, that's a good point. High quality chapter,
Yes.
release on time.
Thank you for validating my assessment of reality.
I guess we do have a tendency to sort of poo-poo the story stuff in terms of it coming it coming bug free. I mean, the bugs came in the sort of support content, like the now I'm not thinking of any bugs, but like the alliance quests, um, and I guess there were some bugs in the story, but they were in the infrastructure of the story, like people that couldn't progress for whatever reason.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I guess I can see how that would be
Yeah.
way different from how they had been doing things.
Right. So that's interesting. And then the second half of his letter is, as you said, Seema, goes on to onto the future with a little bit again of that fluff about don't forget what we've already done so far from the launch of Knights of the Fallen Empire. 9 chapters, 14 companion recruitment missions, Star Fortress, 5 levels, 30 flashpoints upgraded, 50 operation boss upgraded, 2 heroic, the revamp of all the heroic quests, revamp of the leveling experience, and a bunch of quality of life improvements. It is a lot of stuff. It's, again, maybe it's not the exact stuff that you were looking for, and it's not going to be. It's going to be all over the board, the kind of feedback where people are going to say, no one would say, yes, that's the exact mix of everything that I would have wanted. Is there something in there for everybody? Probably something. That maybe not for the GSF players, I guess. Maybe there's some people that there's nothing, that nothing was on their top 5 list. But there's a lot of stuff that came out in there. So I think, yes, they have been doing quite a bit of work. And we've been playing it. We've been playing nonstop since Knights of the Fallen Empire came out. And I'm not going back. In fact, I keep remembering older content that I'm not playing because I'm doing other things, and thinking, oh, I should go back and do quat drive yards and get a little
I
few more
mean,
of those tokens and stuff like that.
that is one thing that people comment on fairly regularly as that is that the story content doesn't have a high replayability. But like you just said, that's not how we're playing the game. I know a lot of people are doing this where they go through with every character and all that stuff and they get to a certain point. And I know if you want to play the internal championship with a particular character, you are going to have to get the first get play through the first 9 chapters. But it's not what we're doing. And so we're finding plenty of replayable stuff to do. It just doesn't happen to be the story.
Yep. So yeah, there's a bunch of stuff. There's more that they're adding. And then he leads into the unannounced. And this is where there's sort of a lot of controversy.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
I think it's fine. I'm glad there's some really positive things in here that I think people are glossing over. They're certainly talking about what's coming after chapter 16, and it's significant. He says, keep there have been sort of little leak, not leak. Sorry, not sorry. Of Charles Boyd talking about that been out there doing voice work, been out doing motion capture for animations on stuff that's coming after chapter 16. So there's significant work going on some of that stuff. Now, yes, the question is how much, what is it, and when. I hope it's not until January, blah blah blah. Yes, that's entirely valid. But there's work going on, and that's exciting. And they're calling that next season and next season's worth of chapters. So they're going to continue this kind of chapter deal into the future. I would love if there wasn't even a break in between season 1 and season 2. I think that would be quite a challenge and probably maybe a little bit too much to ask for. But
I think so, since they're deep into plot summaries right now, which if they'd have to be farther along than plot summaries.
well, maybe it's maybe they're up to chapter 30 and but chapters 17, 18, 19 are done. No, probably not.
There you go.
So,
And maybe they do the summaries last. I mean,
yes,
that
because
there
it's a
is something to
summary.
be said for that.
So they're just
Yeah,
going to
'cause it's a summary, right?
summarize. Or maybe I'm laying irrationally exuberant expectations on this team, but still,
How exuberant of you.
they are.
And then they throw in this
Yeah,
term, new non-chapter content.
yeah. Lay into that, Seema. Let them have
Well,
it.
that's pretty coy. It's like
Non-chapter
non-chapter
content.
content. So previous non-chapter content since Coffee started has been the alliance stuff and the alerts and getting your companions back bit by bit. So that's how I read that.
Right. What people want that to say, the early design phase for new blank. They want, number one, I think people want that to say operations. And he did
Or
not say
flashpoints or yeah.
operations. I mean, I mean, more than anything else,
So
I think it's operations tops that list.
and it's human nature that in the lack of information you fill it with your fears.
Yes.
So basically that little phrase right there means to people it's not going to be to some people it's not going to be operations. It was going to be operations, they would have said operations. Since they won't even say the word, they're done with operations.
Mm-hmm. Yes, that's what people are thinking. That's a lot of, there's big chunks of both the Reddit and the forum thread where that kind of thing is getting thrown around, and people are a little bit frustrated. Either say it's operations, or yes, people are just reading into that it's not operations because they have a word for operations, that
And
kind of
it's
content.
operations.
And there's lots of ways to dance around that kind of thing. You could say new team-based PvE group content, but non-chapter content, yes, that could be pet battles. That could be another GSF map. That
Oh my
could
God.
be that could be
I'm still
Pazak.
there.
I mean,
Yeah.
and there could be
Yeah.
that could be some cool things, and maybe Eternal Championship is going to be interesting, and that's going to be a thing. And I'll play it at least a few times. I'll play it as many times as I need to get Bodar, because that's that's a nice little incentive. I will not play it a million times to get gear that's worse than
That
the
you
gear
already
I
have.
have.
Yeah.
But I'll also play it for fun a couple times. But that's non-chapter content. Where's the operations? What? and maybe it is operations, and and it's going to be a nice surprise once they actually say, yes, we're working on operations. If they are not working on operations, I am flabbergasted. What is it that hard? Is it that much development to make an operation? I mean, why do you think we do not have new operations in the game at this point? I'm asking you, Simo.
I'm shaking my head. I mean,
I
I
don't know.
guess because they can only point their resources in one or two directions at once.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's hard, and maybe it does take a ton more development effort than I'm expecting. And if Eternal Championship is causing this much trouble, and that's basically almost like one boss, one fifth of an operation, then yeah, maybe it's a huge development effort, and they just wanted to spend the development time in these other places, and they just don't feel they can afford that development time anymore. That's the only thing I can think, because besides that, I could not see a reason they would not put operations as a valuable piece of existing content. Because that's all. I mean,
Right. If they have numbers that tell them that only 10% of players play through the operations content,
can it be
and
that little?
maybe Eternal Championship is their way of taking that same kind of a challenging fight where you learn the phases and you slowly get successful after trying again and again, but they make it a solo thing so that it'll hit more people, then maybe that makes sense that they put their efforts into it. I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. So there's that. That is frustrating. I do. Well, I do hope part of that non-chapter content is operations. I'm excited for all the other things too, but that's really the core of the MM part of these kinds of games for me.
Maybe it will be like an in-game version of Turntable. No, that will be.
That would be good too. A player controlled jukebox. In
Yeah.
Lotro, Lord of the Rings Online, you can upload the MIDI files, so you can, with your own instruments, play music that you've
Right.
hand coded into a MIDI file from outside the game, and then you can sync
Yeah.
it with other people in a band. Sure, I would love that little sort of subsystem. We'd have a band. We would so much have a cantina
You'd
band.
so have a band.
We
Yeah.
would have a. In fact, I forgot about that in Lotro. I haven't gotten into Lotro in months, and the only reason I kept going back to it every couple months, all of
Was
2015,
for the band.
was for
Yeah.
the band. So sure, add a band. However, I don't think they're adding a band. They do,
It would be interesting if the non-chapter content was something like Pazak, though, because that would that would be fun and that would be replayable.
now he seems excited about what is coming. Really cool stuff to talk about later this year, and the whole SWTOR team can't wait to announce it, and it's really
But I
cool.
have fatigue for that kind of comment.
Yes, exactly. And the soon, and he even jokes. He even puts the little trademark soon, and everybody knows that yes, that's a joke, and okay, soon,
It's
and
not funny.
it's not funny
Stop
anymore.
doing it.
Why not just? Would it really break the world to break down that wall and say, it's only a 20% chance right now, but we have people working on designing X, Pazak. Okay, now it's up to
Yes.
50-50 that we're going to get Pazak, or we might scrap it completely. Would it really break the world for a development team to just open it up? What I don't know. Would it break it any more than it's currently broken?
That's
Look at these
exactly
threads.
because people say, "Oh, they can't tell us stuff because then everybody on the forums is negative in response to that." And I'm like, "Well,
I mean,
but
do they
they are
think
anyway."
they are
So and
respecting a fiduciary responsibility and they can't, pre-announce features and then not deliver on those features?
because they'll get their feelings hurt.
No, I mean, like people are going to buy stock in EA based on them saying that they're going to have an operation, that they're planning on an operation by November. It's not.
No, no.
No. So open it up. Open
On
it
the
up.
earnings call, they're going to say, "Yeah, but you haven't had any new operations in 2 years, so
Yeah, but so
yeah."
the chat room is saying, and this is the point. If you said there was a chance for doing something and then you didn't deliver, there would be rage quits. However, you not delivering it and not saying that you're even going to try, there's rage quits right now as well. So
And the worst thing is what if they are working on it and they're not saying it and they get rage quits
yes,
from people who just don't believe it's going to happen.
people are rage quitting right now because classes aren't balanced in PvP. People are rage quitting because there's no more operations. People are rage quitting all the time, and then they're rage returning to the game as well. And they're certainly
Rage
rage
returning.
returning to the forums. I don't know how many Reddit and forum posts I saw that. I guess it can't be forum posts because you have to be a subscriber, but on Reddit, you know, I stopped playing 6 months ago, but I check in here and boy, this doesn't surprise me. But you don't know anything then, because
Right. Right.
just stop. But yes, I think it would be an interesting path to go down. And rather than dealing with this fallout, you'll deal with a different kind of fallout. But maybe it would be a fallout that would be justified rather than a fallout that they're getting right now, which is probably completely not justified. So there's that. That's, if I was king of the world, that's what I would do. I said there was 20%. It's RNG. The loot didn't drop. Sorry, guys. No operation in November. It's RNG. Sorry. We rolled the dice. It's actually done. It's sitting here. I was going to press the button, but we rolled the dice and, oh, you didn't get loot this week. No loot for
Especially
you.
if they communicated stuff like that to us in some kind of a formal way instead of, you know, one day it's a post by Tate and one day it's a cantina, a comment that somebody makes when they're drunk, and one day it's a roadmap that we get like four in a year or what. It's just like, yes,
Yep.
show it. I would like to see some structure or something,
Yes.
some responsibility, accountability.
Okay. So spent some time there doing exactly what I said I shouldn't do, and being that uncle and
That you want more.
complaining on the call that you don't call enough and you don't explain enough, and I do again appreciate that there is communication at least starting, and the producer live streams are great, and there should be more of those, and I'm glad to see those continuing. And this letter, if that's going to be another piece of that, then let's add it to the communication cadence and do it on a regular basis, and maybe actually announce things through this process. And then between the producer live stream and this kind of thing, if that's what was happening, that that's even light years beyond what it may have been in the past. So thank you, Ben. I would love to have you on the show so we can ask you to talk about all the things you can't talk about, and then you would say that you can't talk about them.
What show? There's a show?
But I know none of you guys listen to the podcast because
Right.
Reddit, Facebook, and YouTube only. We are on YouTube though. I forgot about that. So maybe he is. Are you watching us on YouTube? Hi guys. So yeah, there's that. Anything you want to say before we wrap it up here, Seema?
Well, just that he did make the comment that BioWare does support this game because that EA supports the game, that Lucasfilm supports this game, and that Disney supports this game. So he's trying to answer the worry that people have that SWTOR has been abandoned.
Yes. Yeah, it was very
And
clear, and it was very specific. EA, Lucas, and Disney all support this game. So that's nice to hear.
yeah, um, and that was so simple to say, and I think they underestimate the value of saying simple things. Like he doesn't have to come out with an open letter. He could have done a one paragraph post, and it would have gotten just as much, just as many people reading it and just as many people talking about it. So, yeah, there. I'm telling him he can say less, just more often.
So yes, just do it. Just tell us what you're not telling us. Just do it, BioWare. Don't let your dreams be dreams. Just do it. Anyway.
But I do want to say one thing about just how this whole conversation goes, and I know I have pointed out some things that are less than ideal for me, but it's a growing thing that we're all participating in and that we all want to be successful. And one of the reasons that I don't, make a lot of negative posts or dwell on, the fear-driven, the game is going to, into the ground or whatever, is that giving voice to those thoughts do not help the process. It doesn't even matter if they're true or untrue. It just doesn't help.
Right. Yes.
So that's my
Constructive
philosophy.
feedback is fine too, but yes.
Constructive feedback is a different thing.
Yep.
Yeah, that's very useful.
Yep. All right. With that, our EPC 140 droid here is ready to roll out. Thanks to all of you for joining us on newoverlords.com, iTunes, or YouTube, maybe, or live on Twitch. We will stream again next Monday night on twitch.tv/newoverlords around 10:30 p.m. Central. Please follow us on Twitter, subscribe on YouTube, drop in comments. I'll answer questions there, or on Reddit. I post the episode to Reddit every week too, and I answer questions that people put in the Reddit forum as well. And follow us on Twitter at MaxTheGray and at AIESEMA. And you can certainly come find us on Jedi Covenant and ask us for an AIE Guild invite. We would love to have you, and then we will answer all your questions in person. And we will talk to you soon.
Later, everyone.